Right.
So we are recording. You can chew as loud as you want. I intentionally purchased soft sounding food. Okay, so unless you smack me, it should not interfere with the quality of the recording at all. So first off, thank you guys for coming. I love the size of the group that we can answer the question if you want to. Obviously, we only have an hour and 15 minutes to go through this with you. So if you don't go down some path for a really, really long time. And so we'll probably just ask you to say, hey, we'll take this offline and we can chit chat later, okay? But it is without further ado. I'd like to introduce you guys, even though some of you guys have already made it. D'Antonio Wilson. D'Antonio, I'm gonna let him tell the story, but mine will be very, very brief. He is the CEO of DMW Services. He runs a chemical transport, hazardous chemical transport business, along with a couple of other specialty trucking needs. He was here, I don't know, last summer. We had a room full of people, just to come and hear about how to get moving in the trucking industry. Well, y'all, it's a different time than it was last summer. Last summer the world was opening back up and everything was rolling. Now what's happening with our financial situation in the country?
Facing a recession.
Okay, possible recession. Okay, and so we've got somebody here, all about money. So I'm gonna have to ask a bunch of money questions. But realistically, we've got some things going on. So this couldn't be more timely presented. And that's keep on trucking. How to navigate the trucking industry in an economic downturn, just for what we're planning here. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce you guys. Have them come on up. This is Mr. D'Antonio Wilson.
Mike and use the partner at the same time. Keep on trucking, how to survive in an economic downturn in the trucking industry.
I'm gonna turn these lights down so you can slide better. If you disappear,
I provided a sheet with the stats, the small stats on the operator statistics as far as fleet size. 86% of fleets are actually 1 to 6 trucks. 10% is 7 to 20. We currently operate in the 10% without never having our own authority, without never going out after customers. I started transporting hazmat as a lease operator through an agent. We had a primary contract with 2 large oil field service companies. This started about 2010. And we have been growing ever since. So I know some have started their own authority and things of that nature. And sometimes that's tough because when you have a new NC number, they only allow you to pull certain freight. Their insurance rates are high. And it's basically fighting against the other 86%. By starting the way that I did enter into the business, I already entered into a customer that had volume and consistent pricing over a long period of time. That's what we're going to need in times of uncertainty is consistency and partners along with you versus just me, myself, and I. That's brief. And I pretty much said, what we do, how I got started. The dark road and the cold beer. The dark road and the cold beer was before I got this contract. And it's a story about perseverance. And I like to tell it so those who are maybe feeling that they may be struggling, how I was struggling at that time. This had to be around 2006 6 or 7, and when we go through the chart, as far as the tonnage rates, we'll see on how freight was on that time. I wasn't in business, just a single owner operator, trying to make it. It's actually in Kansas. I was coming back to Dallas down a dark road. It wasn't dark. It wasn't dark. They put that in there. It was still daylight. But the reason I was on the back road because I didn't have money for the toll. That's our type thing. So I was trying to cut costs by taking the shortcut on the back road. I had a breakdown back there, and I didn't have any sales service. And this was ag country, so it wasn't city, weren't many people passing by. There was a white guy pulled up in a pickup, and he said, "What's wrong with it?" And I said, "Man, I think I got a water leak." I mean, you can see the whole thing. And if anybody knows about it, if you lose water, you can't move, you ain't got nothing. So I needed that hose, but I didn't have a sales. He goes, "Bet you don't have a signal, do you?" I said, "No, sir, I don't." He said, "I just live up the road." He said, "I can take you up there, make a call, and see if we can get somebody out here to help." I said, "Okay." And so as he's taking me down, I mean, I'm feeling down. And I guess he could feel my mood. He goes, he said, "Well, man, had I known you were coming, I would have put something." And I said, "No, I don't want anything easy. I bet you can use a beer." I said, "I can." And so he offered me a beer. He was actually visiting his wife at the cemetery. There was a cemetery here where I had broke down. And so he was actually coming back from the cemetery going home. And that's how he ran into it. And so while we're sitting there, I called, got home in his home. Took me in his home. Made the call, got someone on the way. And so while we're sitting there waiting for the roadside service, he was telling me, he on the cattle ranch. And he was telling me how he got started, how when he got started, how tough it was for him. And he said, the man, they had to be so high on the thing, I didn't think I'd ever be okay on. He said, but I just stayed with it and persevered, and things began to turn. He said, now, I own my ranch, all right. And he said, I still do a little, sell them cattle on the side, but he was financially set. And so he told me that story to tell me not to give up, when things, look bad. And that helped me, a lot. And when I told my brother this, I said, I was like an angel. I said, because I was nowhere. And that had happened to me. And I couldn't even talk about it. And I felt very helpless during that time. But, God always watched things and food. But as I go into my story, we go through the slides, now I'll get a little emotional. I'm gonna show you how to not be foolish and how to not get stuck on the back road like that, because we're gonna put up signs and guards and bumpers protect us before we get to where we just down and out, like that. This is basically what we do. We all have hazardous materials. These are basically they told, but they're using the oil field process. They clean and treat their oil and gas wells all the time. Some of them may separate the water, some of them may prevent erosion, keep the well going. These are also another customer that we are selling. These basically go towards the east coast. These are cylinders with organic peroxide. It's a powder that they use in the manufacturing process for anything from basically cosmetics to fiber optic cables. This is something new that we just started as a hedge against this intermodal. Dallas has a big rail system. You want to do rail. And we also do a little work to Southeastern Freight. And we go to the East Coast, LTL freight back to Fort Worth and to Houston. These, another thing that's unique about these is that when they use, after they use these products, we ship these back to the recycling center. Those come back to the plant so they can reuse. And so oftentimes the rates that we get taking those, we get that same rate coming back, which doesn't always expose us to the spot market, which is what everybody, most owner operators are exposed to. That allows us to still live more and be able to monitor our revenue more consistently. And when I get over here, I gotta call somebody to try to get it low. We don't really move it like that. Trucks, the current health of the trucking industry. Truck tonnage, the truck rates, rising costs, and inflation. This is a truck tonnage chart. It shows the volume of the trucking industry from about a 10-year period. If you can see, the industry has been steadily increasing over the last 10 years. When I told you about the story with the coal burner, I was about right here. That was about right here. And it was down. And so by being, and that's what some of you guys feel you are. After having all of this, you feel like you're coming here. So by me experiencing this, I understand that. But it's going to continue to increase. But the discipline of having to function in a downturn of the industry helped me to build consistently over the long haul for the past 10 years. This is the contracted rates versus spot rate. Okay, do everybody understand what contracted rates and spot rates are? You want to put that in perspective? Okay, when you look at the chart and you see the mega carriers that I have, the 0.6%, the 5%, you know, those, the 100 trucks or whatnot, they basically function on this contracted rates. When you look at the spot rate, the 86%, those who have 1 to 6 trucks, they function here. If you look last year, about 80, they were together. Okay, that's when everybody was making money, buying more trucks, increasing, you know, their business, growing their businesses. But over time, you've seen a decline in the rates to where not. Granted, that's average. It can be higher, it can be lower, either way. This is basically a sheet cost per mile, what it would actually cost for a driver to move. Does anybody do that? Even in the hot shop, you have, okay, everybody has one of those. So when you look at the fixed, what a fixed cost, that's at about 23%. That may be, you know, your truck node, your trailer node, you know, things that are not going to change. When you look at some of your variable expenses, that may be, if you have any lines of credit card, insurance, those things may fluctuate. I'll tell you something. By being leased to a larger carrier, I'm actually able, mine is at like 27%. It's not 38%. And we also, insurance, it's not high because we have group policies to where we don't pay the 2,000 or whatever, and they charge you based on how your size. So the smaller you are, the more you're gonna pay. Okay, now this is what I want to hone in on. So this total operating cost $2 a mile, right? Well, back then, just say he was at the 268, they were able to profit, right? But as things go down, then now they may be doing it at a loss. But that's just one way, okay? So I don't know how you guys, if some of you guys are local, or some of you guys, you may travel out a little bit. So you may get this going out, right?
Coming back.
But then coming back, you may be down here, which may be somewhere around 210. When you combine the two, the round trip, because you have to look at it both ways. So now you really may be only probably 10 cents per mile.
If you get what you're coming back in with, you ain't gonna be coming close to 100.
Okay. Now, remember when I told you that sometimes 50 to 55% of the time we'll bring this back. So all the time, I don't always get exposed to this, which keeps us a little bit more consistent and not seeing those. And also, larger carriers, you know, they have fuel surcharge programs, so when the fuel go up, the rates adjust constantly. If you buy yourself,
A lot of people don't do that.
the fuel, right, it's an all-in line haul. You know, you take it or leave it, and then, you know, you find yourself, as they do around here, trying to find somebody with some cheap diesel. I know all about that. Okay, that's not a way. It'll get you by.
I thought about that.
It'll get you by. But that's not the way you run a business. Okay? You have to have this. What is actually causing you to move? You gotta know that. You know, that'll determine how you move, when you move, what you move, and how long you can do that at a loss or profit. Okay? Year-over-year profit and loss statements. Anybody doing P&X?
One time, probably lost it.
Profit and loss statements.
You ain't got no business.
I'm doing spreadsheets. for
Hold on. Okay, you know I'm always gonna teach. Okay, so back up. Did you not raise your hand?
Not every quarter, man, miss a quarter, man.
You'll miss a quarter every now
I
and
do it
then.
every quarter. I try to do it every 3 months. I didn't start until I went to show. I was just making money.
Good wife.
I really realized a lot of my movies wasn't making that much sense.
You have to get your bookkeeper and begin to be able to monitor your finances on a weekly. You can't wait 3 months. You know, you might have been doing the wrong thing for 3 months. You have to start doing it. We.
That's spectacle.
Money one day.
It's not paperwork because I use QuickBooks.
Nice.
It can be a little costly for someone with this one that you would have to determine that. But all of my accounts are linked through them, and so they're able to pull, you know, everything that I have going on and put it in a P&L format where I can see where we're being efficient, where we're not, what lanes are actually profitable, what lanes are not, so I know what to do and what not to do. So, but the year-over-year P&L would have demonstrated a trend, right? If you would have did them every quarter, you know, you would see a trend based on your history of what you've been doing. You should also compare those trends to what's going on in the world, okay? My fuel costs may have been high because the fuel was high during that period. Is this something that's going to continue, or this is something that's temporary? And you can make adjustments from there. Days of, am I moving too fast?
No.
No, sir.
No, not at all.
Days of cash on hand. This is also important. They look at, say, your annual operating, which you would know if you had a P&L. Okay, because just like a simple cost that he shows, monthly, they would compile that annually, and you would get a number. That number was 450,000, less depreciation, amortization, financing equipment. The annual cash operating expense is $430,000. Okay, if you have 100 grand, all right, the formula is take the cash on hand divided by your annual operating expense and divide by 365 days, which gives you 1178. Okay, that's how much a business actually costs you a day. That if you did no business at all, in 85 days, it was not a month. Okay, that's important to know when you're saying cash wise, because if I'm currently operating at a loss, how many days can I really do that? I don't know. It depends. Okay, I think that's very important, because that may decide if some will pull out and stay in. Some must say, hey, look, I'm gonna go ahead and keep my money and then exit out with what I have before things just so I can see things trending down for me the way I'm doing. Okay, that keeps you from going into breaking down and being on the back road with no toll money because you ain't been watching what's going on. That's how it works. Okay. Controlling your costs. How do I control my costs? Basically, we start looking at staying on top of maintenance for what? Staying on top of maintenance. Okay. So this is how we do maintenance. Over the last year, we'll take those P&Ls. We'll see what we spent on that particular truck. Okay, say it was about, they can range from 10. If you refurbishing one, they could go all the way up to 40, depending on what you were doing. But then you may not do that 40,000 every year, but you can count on about 10. Okay. Once we see that that's what we did, the following year we'll develop a maintenance account for that particular truck. Say, okay, about $2,000. So that means every week we set those payments up, put them aside in that account. So when those things happen, we're already prepared for them. Okay, that's the first step. The second step in your maintenance program is actually what you're doing and what may come due. Tires are getting bad. Let's start putting, some money together for a set of tires. Instead of trying to buy a tire here, buy a tire there, because I'd have been through that. You're gonna be replacing this and that every couple of months instead of getting you a set that'll last you 3.5 years. Okay? But that all comes in your planning, controlling costs, but it's difficult to do that if you're not being consistent in what you're doing. Keep your money up and down. It's hard to plan like that. So that's how we control costs with maintenance. Seeking alternatives in trucking. Okay, if you really can't handle being in business, you may need to get with someone who can and kind of help you along the way until you're able to handle your own business. Most people want to just go out there on their own because they say, well, I want to be able to go where I want to go when I want to go. I tell you that. That's not wise. That's not action. The market is going to determine where you go. Because if you want to say, I'm just going to do Dallas, but Dallas can't pay your bills, and Austin can, you're going to Austin. Just based on what the market is telling you if you're smart. if you're smart. Also, if you say you did secure a customer, the customer say, well, I can pay, you know, I need you to go to Oklahoma City. Yeah, I want to go to Oklahoma. Well, fine, it's okay. Just find somebody who wants to. You know, so it's never that I can do what I want. The market's going to determine what you do. But as I said, it's for some, I think the brother says too high shot. I think A-Truck Express, you heard them? They're a high shot company. I think they allow lease.
I think they'll do, these operators, right?
I think they do. Yeah. So matter of fact, I know a guy with several trucks with A-Truck Express. It's back to the same thing that we do. It's a way for him to get in and scale operate under someone who already had dedicated customers and volume in order for him to stay afloat until he made his own customers and do his own. Yeah. So that's seeking alternatives
I
without.
wish I'd known about that. Before I jumped in there, get my own authority. Because of the things that you deal with, you know, these different regulations, especially paying tickets.
Yeah.
And you know, wait, you're sitting on money, you gotta do it right then.
Yeah, but it was, you know, and when we looked at that graph, everybody was making, you know, money. You know, making videos and, you know, and showing the life and buying cars and houses and you know, people will put good jobs to go and do that. You know, so that's an alternative, leasing on to someone who can maybe help you or sustain you in a downturn where the rate that you're getting aren't enough to keep you afloat with your operating costs as an independent, you know, meaning your insurance. You know, I talked to a guy the other day and he was with Progressive. He went to another one that was cheaper. Then when he got over there, they went up. He went just all that type of stuff that he wasn't counting on, you know, to try to stay in business. And he was thinking about liquidating his assets, selling his trucks. Okay. Everybody's like that right now. They want to sell their trucks. So during the time when the business was up, you could sell your truck for a nice profit because everybody wanted it. Now that the industry is turning down, you probably can put up a sales sign on it, but you're gonna sell it way cheaper than someone wants to pay for it, or it's going to be sitting there. You know, but that is an option. Sometimes what's hurting your profit margin is your debt, the bill that you have every month. You know, whether that's you any type of credit card, line of credit in order to fund the growth of your business. And now that interest is beginning to go up, then that may become a concern. And I was looking at that interest, and I was talking to her about it before getting prepared for the class. I said it was a small number, meaning I could manage it. But when I look at the percentage, how that interest had rose from year to year, it was like 200%. But I'm like, that's an issue. You know, so if you're doing your P&Ls and you're comparing your numbers, when you see percentage rise, you know, uncharacteristically over time, you should address those. But if you ain't even, you know, doing that, you ain't gonna know. So you have to at least do the basics. Okay, we talked about preventive maintenance. Sometimes maintenance does help you, you know, improving, you know, the performance, you know, the unit. You know, drivers some don't have drivers. Drivers are and can be an issue. That's, you know, from not wanting certain routes to wanting them at certain times. We do a lot to the northeast, so it snows you know, if everybody isn't, you know, privy to want to drive in the snow. I basically find a lot of drivers that used to own their own trucks, you know, but for whatever reason, they no longer drive. And then they make them drive because I do pay a little bit higher than what the average company, you know, may pay. But that does come with a few setbacks, and that's the setbacks may be weekends and being away from home, you know, like by compensating, you know, for that. I basically mentioned leasing on to larger companies. Specialization. I was, you know, the young lady was speaking earlier when she was talking about a CDL, and I was telling her to be sure to get all her endorsements, you know, at the beginning. You know, hazmat certified, tanker endorsement, and some of the things to separate you from the rest of the crowd. At one time, the one I shot was specialization because it was new. But then, you know, once the market became saturated and online shopping somewhat pulled back, then, you know, the market is trying to correct itself right now. But I always encourage drivers to become specialized, whether it's, you know, heavy haul, hazmat, or cars, which it's been taking it through downturn too. You know, so, yeah, you know, all of these things. But the thing about it is, a lot of it is going on just in our small little region, because most of the people that got into the industry got in with the idea of doing that and being home every night, you know, that type of thing. There's still opportunities that, you know, may stretch you out to the East Coast, to the Midwest of Chicago, things like that. You know, that's a decision that, you know, you have to make. Who would be willing to go out of town if it was to help them survive their business? How you doing, brother? Okay. Anybody?
Any day.
Okay. You in trouble? No. No trucking business?
Not
You
yet.
man, you in transportation?
No.
Okay, okay. I want to speak to what everybody is doing. I don't want. Okay, skip what we define as not one of me.
No, but a lot of what he's saying can be applied to other businesses, just like leasing to larger companies. Just by talking about like say example, you're a restaurant, you're selling, you're a restaurant. Your restaurant supplier is selling all these businesses, all these inventory. You don't need to sell the inventory, you just lease it out to catering companies, get the money back in return. That way you can pay your down mortgage and payments and all of that. So there's no reason you don't want to sell and you can still make money. So there's a lot of transferable skills here that you can move on to other companies. It's not just trucking, it's other skills in general. So yeah.
Anybody want to ask me something, about something that you may not?
Before you even got the saying, I was gonna ask you. So at the time when this situation happened, before that breakdown, were you paying attention to already?
No. No, I mean, man, whatever, 16 years ago? 16 years ago, I had no idea about maintenance. I had no idea what it may cost. I didn't have a dedicated mechanic shop, you know, man, I think Valley View was open, the gallery. I was in Valley View every Saturday. Any of those checks. No planning at all, and that's what caught me. You know, is that I didn't understand, because here's the thing about transportation. If you go from making, say, you know, at that time, people make about $700 a week, to making $18,000 to $1,000 a week. That's a lot of money if you ain't never had, you know, that kind of money, you know, during that time. And that's what I was doing. I was basically, you know, blowing money, not playing, you know, not structuring what I was doing, and get caught up with it. You know, and I went out and made a whole bunch of purchases that I should call out, you know, that all that type of thing. Now,
No money changed this on.
Yeah. So, and that was around 2006, being at the height of the housing market. So I was caught in all of that. And what made me hang on is I had nowhere to go. I don't know if I told y'all at that time, I had just, came here from Katrina. I was displaced Hurricane Katrina walls, so I was already starting over, during that time, and it was just, man. So
You really had nowhere else to go.
I had nowhere else to go.
How come you specialize in hazmat?
Okay, I was always familiar with the oil field and chemicals. When I was in high school and college, my father, he was a project engineer for British Petroleum. And he would have, he did projects for Shell and Chevron. And in order to suck up to him, they would give me summer jobs on his oil field platforms.
All right.
So I was familiar with that industry. It's heavy on the Gulf Coast. This is not new on the Gulf Coast.
Yeah.
In Texas, it became more prevalent during the introduction of fracking. They started fracking in West Texas. That brought the oil boom back. And that's when we got on that contract, and that's when I began to make extra money during that time. But that tanked too. But just so happened what we were doing, not only we were part of their drilling process, but also their upstream chemicals, which they do all the time. And so that's how I got into the hazmat. And also my sister petroleum engineer. So we all in the family somewhere affiliated.
Okay. That's solid.
An accountant? Yes, I have, no, they're different. Your bookkeeping and your accountant are two different people.
Mhm.
So yes, I have both.
What's the difference?
The difference is your bookkeeper basically tracks your spending, gives it to you in your balance sheet, your profit and loss. Your accountant, they strategize, your taxes. Your bookkeeper ain't gonna, if you don't say nothing about your taxes, she ain't gonna say nothing. So you have to kind of tell them, look, this is gonna be a tax account, and I should be putting X, Y, and Z, quarterly, basically weekly, to make it add up. Quarterly. Don't try that quarter stuff. I tried it. It don't work, because if you don't plan, you'll take that money and do something else with it. You'll miss a quarter. Okay? Next quarter, now you gotta try to make it for that and then double down. Before you know it, you'll be asking for an extension. Okay? And I'm telling you this because I did all these things. And then you try to find yourself you're in business, trying to come up with $20,000, $30,000 to catch up on your taxes, when margins are already low in some places, and now you're trying to double up because, you were dipping and dabbing when you should have. Yes.
And that's to say that you recommend annual tax.
As a business,
Yeah.
you have to pay quarters.
Yeah.
You have to pay quarters.
Okay.
Yeah. You should pay your plan quarterly. And with your bookkeeper, that's gonna happen, okay? This quarter, this is how, that's the P&L. This is what we came in as, this is your tax liability on that money. Right? And so after you do it year over year, you'll get a prediction. This is somewhere in the range of the tax liability is gonna be. I can already start planning for that. Incorporate that into my business. Meaning that, when I get paid, I set my money aside, this portion for taxes. Don't wait and say, come up with that money at that quarter because we may not have it. The IRS will not say nothing. You miss a quarter. They won't say nothing. You miss a year, still liable. They won't say nothing. If you miss 2 years, you get to that third year. Mr. Wilson.
Audit them.
You notice we haven't heard from you. And but you hadn't paid the last 3 years. And according to what your vendors reported on you, you made this amount of money. Your tax liability should be this, and this could be an amount that you ain't ready for, and you don't want to pay. You know, but then you got to go back to your bookkeeper and say, no, we calculated this should be this, and that's, you didn't got them in your business. And once they get in your business, they get them out. Okay? I went through that. That's what made me get an accountant. I was 50 grand down in taxes. Okay? Man, I'll tell this story. I thought I was bad. I want to get me one of them tax ladies in the Pan American building downtown. That's the building, that's the building. You know, the one where you go inside, you look up and all the offices. Oh, Jewish lady. She said, Mr. Wilson, we're gonna send you to my an accounting firm, and we're going to set up your payment plan. You can pay your taxes. You know, I think I don't want, okay. Send me up to Richardson Waters. Big attorney, you see Waters and what they still on 75 right now. Send me up there with them people. You know, okay, yeah, Mr. Wilson, bring us everything you have. We set up a payment plan. Get in there to dealing with them. I'm paying it. Okay. This lady charged me $1,500 to talk to me. She was hot. You know, these people charged me X amount of dollars to handle my books, and I was still making payments to the IRS. Okay. A friend of mine told me about this little black lady in Baltimore named Miss Karen. And I went over, and you know, to be honest with you, I didn't think it would work because I felt the brother that was telling me was a little bit, this who got to watch with one another, was a little bit shame. Lower it. I'm just being honest with you. You know, because he just wasn't on the level of what I was doing. You know, he said, but man, look, she got me out of jail. Took a chance, went over there with her, and this was her exact words to me. And I was older than that. Say, baby, you know, say, listen, let me get you in the offering compromise plan. And we will get all this. Now, I told you, Jewish lady charged me $1,500 to talk with her. She passed me over to the other accounting firm, and they was charging me monthly and also making a payment plan for IRS. You know how much the lady said? I said, well, Miss Catherine, so wow. Said $300 too much. I said, what? And I was even her every cent.
Seeking alternatives.
She got that debt wiped out, and that gave me a new slate. And long as you stay with them, yeah, they'll release.
What was that plan called again?
Offer and compromise.
Off and compromise?
Offer and compromise. Offer and compromise. Okay. Now, if you watch politics, during that time, Obama was in office. Man, he hated that he was doing that. You know, they really did. You know, during that time, so it was a small window to get in. I hear it every now and then on the radio. You know, with different tax services. But I mean, this lady, and still to this day. But I am somewhat outgrowing her. You know, what I do is get a little bit more complicated. She was just kind of a simple accountant. You know, so I've been thinking about that, finding someone else, but I ain't gonna find nobody who's gonna that's another, man, I had so many unique experiences, you know, along the way that it could have went one way or the other. I just felt on the good side. Let's see, what else do I have? Liquidated assets. You know, selling some of your trucks and your equipment. If you were to sell it what would you do with the money? Okay, if you only got one truck, unless you're gonna work with somebody else, you know, you may wanna sell it $25,000, $30,000, you know, in your pocket. I don't know what other debts you may have against the loan, you know, anything else business associated, so you may have a clean slate. That may be an option for some. You would have to look at your numbers and determine, you know, that how long you wanna hang in the business or try to hang. Reducing debt in order to increase the profitability. You know, right now, debt is a big issue because interest rates, that's part of why that bank failed. You know, they were getting to a point to where they could properly service their debt and their liquid funds were low. Then they had to come to bank to be in the pool. So I encourage, you know, during this time when you can, you know, during these periods where it's getting bad, if you can possibly pay down some of your debt, or better not, look at consolidation. Get your paper where you can afford. Then if you do get out the industry, you don't get out bankrupt, or you know, your credit in shambles where you can't do anything else. Okay, that's part of your exit plan that you should have in business. Don't wait till it gets bad to do something of that. Circumstances will take over your life. Because they will. Tools to keep rolling. Financial software. Okay. Freight data and analysis sites. I don't subscribe to those freight data and analysis sites, but the free information that they give, I will and do monitor. That is one. And freight waves is another. Okay. Read. You don't know what you don't know until you begin to read. I'm not good at it. Okay.
Charades at all.
No. We could use Facebook.
Oh, heck no.
QuickBooks, okay? Excel spreadsheets. That's also another. Have anyone heard of Fathom?
Nope. Never ever.
Fathom is, they used to be integrated with QuickBooks. It would give you an analysis of key indicators that you pointed out. Meaning that I may say, if my fuel costs get to a certain level, make it red or yellow. Meaning that when I look at my analysis, I can quickly point out what targets that I hit and what targets that I didn't hit. And then it would also show me give me a trend of how I'm performing according to the forecast that I put forward. So it keeps me in tune with what's, I can pull up my financials and see how the business is doing without just, you know, how I may feel it's doing and make adjustments from there. So.
Question. So if I saw correctly, so you joined after this question was asked, so I may be out of line, ready to hop into. You said you've been doing, you do it just not every quarter, right? Ma'am, you done got brought into this too. You track your business with a P&L, okay? Sir, I know you got all kind of P&Ls, am I right?
Yes.
All right, do you have a business that you have a P&L in? Just so I know whether or not to include you in the scenario? All right, no problem. All right, so what do you use to track your finances and your P&L? Are you using a QuickBooks? Is it Excel spreadsheet? Talk to us. Yeah, you.
No, I've never used QuickBooks. I did download it, however, I never used it.
So how you making your P&L?
The lady that was doing my taxes, that's how I was keeping it. I was sending out my receipts, I was sending out.
And she sent you back something, how often?
At that time, she was doing it like for the whole week. She gave me a spreadsheet that you put your mileage to every.
So every week she was sending you something back, or you were just sending it to her?
I was just.
How often was she sending it to you?
She didn't, she never sent it to me.
She just gave you a text.
Yeah.
So is this lady one of the ladies that was on the fire like this?
No. But I mean, I trusted her because I've been knowing her.
So she does your tax, so you don't really have a P&L. She's not really giving, okay, all right, that's important to know. How do you keep your P&L? How do you keep your books? The bookkeeper, all right?
She has book, my bank statement, everything, and then she sends something back.
How about you?
I use QuickBooks. I go in there every once in a while. I gotta have like 200-300 categories. I gotta go in there and put everything where it's
Oh,
supposed
you do it manually.
Yes.
Instead of the advanced,
Yeah,
you know, when you pay for the service, where you put the service for it.
yeah. So I need to upgrade.
All right, so I'm gonna pause before I get to you, because you probably got all the right answers, so you didn't know you were in the teacher part of the class, okay? He's in finance, or the financial industry, so he may have some for us. A few things I just want to point out about those who use software or who don't use software. First off, he just told you the difference between a bookkeeper and an accountant. A lot of you guys are using a bookkeeper because you're trying to do that for your taxes. Notice what both of you kind of said. I'm sending stuff in, they're not sending stuff back to me. Okay, they should send stuff back because you have to inspect what you expect. Half of these bookkeepers, I'm not saying all of them, but half of them was the person cheating up your paper in class. Okay, so why is it that you think you could just give them your information and take what they say to be God? Don't you double check everything else? So you can't just say that, hey, I have a bookkeeper, this should be this. There should be something that you have that you submit to that bookkeeper that already keeps a check and a balance. Does that make sense? You send somebody to the store with $20, okay? They bought something that was 15, but they saw y'all bought it, what am I saying? Because you making sure you got back what you're supposed to get back. So I don't want you guys to be trusting because you have a bookkeeper. Now, some people don't like paying for QuickBooks because it costs a lot of money. So I'm gonna give you the name of something that doesn't cost you much money at all until you get to be where you could afford it. It's called Zoho Books. ZOHO Books. Okay? All right, look at you. Guess how much is it?
I don't have QuickBooks for.
Okay.
It's in the class.
Okay, she said that's actually a QuickBooks class going on upstairs right now to teach you how to use QuickBooks. You get it for free for a period of time. Also, I'm not saying you should buy your tax and TurboTax. They'll give you QuickBooks free for you. So it sounds like y'all would like free software. Is that correct? I did not give you permission to record me, sir. So I appreciate it. It's on way.
Right.
Please delete it. All right. So how much would you be willing if I told you Zoho and QuickBooks is almost the same? QuickBooks costs how much do you think QuickBooks costs after that free trial?
Advanced, one of your about 350, 500.
So since you're not really Zoho, what would you be willing to pay?
Sure.
He said 200. Anybody else? 200 sound all right for the year? Well, give me $200 because Zoho Books is free. All right. Now in your mind immediately you didn't discredit it. Because you're gonna say, how can it be free? It's free because once you get started and you get set up and you see how it's working, and then next plan up because you got to the maximum number of transactions you can do. Are you really gonna start all over somewhere else? No, you're gonna pay that money. So guess how much the next level costs? A whole $9 a month. You gotta really be like making a lot of money, like Cisco. That's why they get clients for them to charge you a whole bunch, okay? Because it's meant for that. Because once you use one of the things, then they want you to use their invoice management, their expense management, all these other things. So go and look up Zoho Books because why it's better than what you're doing right now. You can set up all those reports, and instead of sending things to a bookkeeper in a whole nother state, nothing wrong with your book, okay? You know, you got a cowboy shirt. But hey, I'm like a boy, okay? But even though you're sitting there, you're not getting anything back. If nothing else, I sure get you forward though. Zoho Books will give you something back. Okay, so I definitely need you, and I honestly think it's better than an Excel spreadsheet. All right, so if nothing else, I want you guys to check that out. Now, Mr. Man in the financial industry, you said you do lending, correct?
Correct.
I walk in and I need some money from you, and I don't have a financial software. I send my bookkeeping receipts and stuff to the lady in Louisiana who doesn't send anything back. Am I a prime candidate for lending?
No, you're not.
What at a minimum do I need? What do you like to see? Who is somebody that when they walk in the door, you be like, oh, I'm giving her that money. Talk to them.
We definitely want to see that you have business bank statements.
So you have to have that. Our qualifications are really simple. But also, if you don't have business bank statements, you're gonna have to show if you're a new business, your personal and your tax returns. And then if you're getting a large amount of money, definitely get a profit and loss statement,
What's a large amount of money?
100K plus.
So wait a minute, so my tax lady, we grew up together, we were in kindergarten together. She does my taxes and she told me about all these deductions that I could take. So I only made $3 actually. But I mean, technically, I made money, but according to my taxes, I only made $3. Can I still get $100,000 loan?
No, it's gonna affect the money. Because it looks like, well, so the bank statements, you know, if they're showing that you're profitable, but you're writing everything off on taxes, we can still work with you. But if you're going 100K plus and you're writing everything off, then not gonna work.
I got one question for you.
Mhm.
Okay, but it got a lot of parts. Tell me 3 things, if anybody here was looking to, expand their business, grow anything, tell me 3 bits of advice, so we gotta pick one to grow. 3 bits of advice you would give anybody who's interested in securing finances to maybe help them during an economic downturn.
Absolutely. Make sure you're depositing money into your business bank account consistently. Make sure you're doing your taxes properly. And the third thing I would just say is, try not to have no bankruptcies or anything derogatory in your credit.
If I'm married and my old lady got a shopping habit, does that affect my credit? What about, do I really need business credit?
Not really. You can have minimal to low business credit, and I can still work with you.
But that interest rate probably high, with 35%.
Of course it is. It's expensive. It gets really expensive. The less you have your stuff together, the more the loan's gonna cost you, period.
But you still give me the loan at an 8% interest rate.
I still pass it on to you, but no, don't get me wrong. If it's gonna affect your business, I won't do it. I'll tell you, I don't wanna do it. But if you're gonna take the money, you can flip it and make your business grow, then absolutely take that money. I don't care how expensive it is, if you know it's something detrimental to your business that you need now. Like you got a pizza shop, and your oven goes out. You got college kids coming in, you need that oven. You don't care how much it costs. You know what I mean? So
That's a good question. I'll ask the question. So he said, does it help me if I borrow a small amount of money and then I hurry up and pay it back? Will you give me more money since I hurry up and pay it back? Or is that just a rumor that is?
no, that's true. Just paying it back, period. You can always come back and access it. You can access more if you want. But you gotta at least just pay it back. It's not about when you pay it back. Sometimes I can get the lender to give you a discount on the payback, but that's the only benefit for it. There's no prepayment penalty, but bringing it back real fast, I don't do nothing unless you just need some more money that fast.
You got any more questions?
No.
Oh. All right, one more question.
You said you need to have a business bank account with transaction history as long as it's profitable. What if I open an LLC and I still work my current day job, but I hire myself as an independent contractor and just hook up my business bank account with a deposit? Would that work? Or
Yeah, if you have consistent deposits, you can't just go drop 20 G's in there and think we're gonna look at it like you're making 20 G's a month. You know what I mean? Like every month you gotta show customers, are you getting some type of deposits that aren't just cash deposits?
Okay.
Yeah, she makes a good point in just listening, to the financial guru speak. We were in, the Goldman Sachs program. We had business owners that weren't bankable. So, and when we said bankable, we meant primary institutions, some of your larger banks, regional, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, things that nature. What he said is accurate as far as being able to, the P&L, the balance sheet, and being able to show that you will be able to serve it.
That's right.
So that I can make money, pay myself, and then still have enough in the business where I can service that debt and also continue to grow. So that's important. What he was saying, and if you can't, then you have alternative sources like what he's speaking of. And in some of those alternative sources, some of them are still actually owned by the bigger banks. They just operate in another name, and just, still make that loan. They just don't want that type of loan spread over to their good name, in order to, dirty, what they do. So that's good information. I talk about, why the U.S. Labor Bureau of Statistics. Why would I look at that as a trucking company? Because I'm an employer, so I want to know what's the average of what drivers are actually making out there. So I can be either in line or just a little bit higher in order to control my costs. I don't want to just be guessing, and saying things without having an actual facts. I get, guys that try to negotiate with me what they should be paid. And I'll agree if it's in line with, what's accurate. But if it's not, then I know that if I just leave an ad running a little bit longer, I will find, what I'm looking for. And the reason why I'm giving you all of these small tools about P&L, looking up statistics, being in tune with what the trends from are going on in the industry as far as, the average, what they're paying is that, they keep averages, band, week, flat day, also great ways so you can begin to speak in facts versus opinions, over the industry now. Not really knowing why it's not. I just showed you a chart that the tonnage was up. The spot market rate is down, the contract rate has been overset. So it's not that way for everyone. Maybe at this point, you may be positioned on the industry. And that's something that you just have to correct. You talked about reading, business related books, team building articles. That's in case you had employees. I have subcontractors. I 1099 the drivers, they're on employees. Digital media, articles. Okay, CDL Minded Accounting. That's a book that you should look at. Also, not only just business related books, but also read philosophy. I'm self-help, working on myself, and man, that book on personalities. I forget the name of that book. And that helped me a lot because when you're dealing with individuals, if you can understand their personality, you may understand where they're coming from and how to relate to them. Everybody's not the same. We can't deal with them the same way we know where they are on certain, situations, not all.
Wait, go back there, go back.
Yeah.
Hold on, sweetie. I got it. He said something that you guys might have glossed over. I run into people, so as you guys know, I do small business consulting. Everybody I meet has a different personality. If you know me from when I was a child to now, my face is exactly what I'm thinking. But I cannot approach all of my clients the same way. I've got to get on their level, not just in ways that they can understand, but ways they don't even know. Some people are very sensitive, some people are very demanding, and it's not just about how they act, it's who they are and what makes it their character. People, when y'all came in and sat down, you sat next to somebody you already feel comfortable with because there was something about them that you identified with. Some of y'all didn't identify with anybody. And I say, oh, can you move over here? The reason I'm telling you that is when you are in the trucking business and you own your own rig and you on the road by yourself, you don't worry about anybody but you. And if you're gonna stay that way, that's fine. But as soon as you decide that you want to have some steady lanes working with certain customers, then their personality matters. They do care that you get it there on time, that you're safe, all those things. But if you are a butt to them, do you think they're going to keep that business for you, or are they looking for somebody else to pass it on to?
Somebody else.
And a lot of times we think that, oh, I just need to be nice. Everybody doesn't like nice. How do you define nice? See me, if you talk to me too much, you try to hug me, you're too friendly, I don't like you. You know why? I'm about time. I'm about results. So the longer you're talking to me, the less I like you. Because am I getting paid for this?
No.
No. So you gotta learn people's personalities. So when he's talking about self-help books and he talks about personalities, you might be like, I ain't doing all that. I don't even like to read. You like getting paid, right?
Yep.
So take a moment to go and learn about other people. And then I teach a whole class on it. Okay, then try to identify who people are and see if you pray. All right, I can give y'all 5 minute lecture on it, but we only got 12 more minutes, and I'm not gonna do that. All right, but you need to read. You need to not just learn about how business works, learn about how the banking collapse is affecting what's going on right now. Learn about why fuel shoots up at different times of the year. You know, it's not just about I've been running this, I know how to drive, I know how to deliver. It's do I know business? And business is made up by people. So if you are not doing something, I have this thing I call upgrade. So every Friday is the day, and I just pick the day. But one day a week, you should have something where at the end of the day, you are better than when you started that day. And it's an every week thing. You know why? How many times you said you was gonna do something and it didn't get done? Because you're gonna do it next week. But then, you know, if that the next week become next month.
Yeah.
But if it's an every week expectation and you fall off 1 or 2 weeks, what's gonna happen that next week? It's on your calendar. So if you don't have a Monday, Monday, and an upgrade to Friday, you can move the days around. Then that's the problem. Put it in your schedule. Otherwise, you'll spend all this time doing all this stuff and everything is moving ahead, but you're standing still. Make sense?
Yes.
Could you give me an example for each one of those bullets that I could probably use to apply to any general business?
Business related, that's good, good one. Business related books. Which ones that I like? I have so many.
Name your first one.
My first one would probably be Think and Grow Rich.
That's what I was gonna say.
Think you what?
Think and Grow Rich, that's probably my first one. Napoleon Hill. Okay. Team building articles. Man, I really love military books.
Military what?
Military books. Okay. There's a book by General Stanley McChrystal called Team of Teams. And he actually does a lot of corporate work too, corporate companies bring him in and he speaks to us, speaking engagements with them. The personality book, do you remember the name of that book?
So you told my personality was home. I think they're coming in just a moment.
It's a very popular book.
Um,
Okay, that would be the last book.
Okay.
I'll get it to you.
Team of Teams. Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. Because it's not just about thinking and grow rich, it's also about planning, strategy, and it's also it incorporates the spiritual, in it as well. It's a good book. You'll use it, forever. You get never ready. Digital media articles, as I told you, you get on LinkedIn and stuff like that, some of the social media sites, whatever content that you can kind of lean to, they'll push more off to you. And I kind of stay in the logistics realm and a little bit of finance, because what happens in finance also affects what happens in logistics. So, they kind of work, together. The country we're based on consumer confidence and consumer spending. If consumers are spending, truckers should do good. When consumers are worried about if their money is safe at the banks, they may hold it a little bit. We may see somewhat of a slump of what in trucking, in the industry. So I try to keep up with all of that. Okay, your trucking tune-up. This is what I would say I would want you to think about. What's your days of cash on hand? If you're not there, then you would want to start thinking of ways to put some money aside. I say that because your days of cash on hand can be structured as a yellow light or a red light. When I get to a certain amount of days, I need to start getting worried, because I may be in a danger zone. And if I get to a red light, I need to make a solid decision, from that point. And so you start setting up these parameters for your business and for yourself, so you don't find yourself into a situation and say, well, what happened? All of a sudden, am I just out of basis. I have right now, this is a real story. When I started moving into intermodal, when I first got the contract with them, they were, and it was a passive going over there. I had to apply because at that time they didn't have a plate program. So I had to apply for the authority, pay all that down payment money for insurance, sign up over there, get under their insurance, and then stop and cut off my authority. I had it for 2 days, and it cost me a whole bunch of money, just to get that plate. So that's another reason why I always suggest individuals start off leasing all with carriers who have all those things in place to run that face those upfront costs. But when I came over there, the account that I came for, they lost when I came there. So it's been spotty for about 6 months. Okay. Well, moving into this is about to be the peak season. When spring comes, it's usually the peak season. If it doesn't, because I pick up, then I should already be looking at my trend to do something different. I'm not gonna go another 6 months and hoping that something will change. Okay, that's why I would encourage you to have your expectations, what it should be. And then if those things aren't trending that way, then you need to make a change. Okay, so that may be a losing concept. It's not that we won't still pursue to be in intermodal, but we may find another partner to work with, versus, them. That's, I'm at my yellow light. If anything doesn't happen in 30 days, we're going to make a decision.
So who wrote the formula for knowing what your days on hand is? Who wrote it down? Your days on hand.
Days of cash on hand.
Days of cash on hand. You remember that formula? It was way at the beginning of the presentation.
No.
Because that's what he's asking you now. Like right now, you rolling. But do you know if you really rolling? Are you about to have a blowout on the other side of the road? I don't mean physically, I mean financially. So a lot of times you think as long as you have money in your bank account, you're doing okay, but are you? I noticed he mentioned earlier, once you've been doing this for a year, you should take how much money you spend and put that in an account. You know what I'm saying? So next year you already got an idea of what it's gonna take. And if that account starts to get too low and you only halfway through the year, wait a minute. My expenses are out of control. I'm not controlling my costs. Now I don't truck, I can barely drive. You know what I'm saying? But I can listen, and I know money makes sense no matter what industry it's in. That's why you can be in the food or the hair industry or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Daycare, because money is money. He doesn't walk in and say, "Oh, well, you can't have this because you're not in this." I got some money that'll work for you, but you have to understand the money concept. So if you didn't write that formula down, then how you answer this question? What color your light is? You can't. So I uploaded this presentation for you guys, okay, on Linktree/speaker series, the same way you guys registered. This presentation is on there so that you can have that formula.
And if you don't track your expenses, then you really can't do the formula. But if you got an idea of what your expenses may be monthly, multiply by 10, that makes it annually. You can divide it by 365, that'll give you what your actual day-to-day is. And then if you take your cash minus that operating expense divided by that, then you 365, you get to how many days you.
So I'm gonna let y'all do some one-on-one question time after this. We're gonna go ahead and wrap it out of respect for people's times. Today's presentation was put on by Dallas College in partnership with the Dallas Collaborative for Equitable Development. If you guys are not, that's a lot, right? D said, I said that one of the things, somebody was like, that's my name. Oh, that's not right. The Equitable Development, wrong kind of mint. But D said, put this on. Unfortunately, they've been doing this since last summer. Unfortunately, this particular grant offering is ending at the end of this month. So there are still some opportunities for you to get one-on-one business advising and some other things, and I'll show you the link in just a moment. But listen to me, if you're not signed up before the end of the month, you missed that opportunity. So again, like I said, we've been doing this, all right? We did 10 of these last year, and now we're doing another 4. Catering was last week, today is trucking. We're gonna be doing grading, which actually is a really, to me, a masterclass in expanding and diversifying your income. You have one skill set that can definitely move on to some other things. And then the last one of the month, and what we're closing the series on is Mind Your Business. It's about customizing your sales and marketing, something that any industry can definitely use. So we don't want you to miss out. Registration is still open. So these two, there's not a survey today, because we're about to be out. If y'all don't like it, know where you're going to come back. I'm just kidding. But this first one will get you to the presentation from today. The recording will be posted tomorrow or the next day. But it'll get you to that days of cash on hand. And then this, and it also will get you to the link to be able to register for the other 2 sessions that are coming up. This other one that says Linktree/GC Small Biz is the one that's good to the end of this month for you to be able to take advantage and see if there's going to be another QuickBooks course. That maybe you can have, you can get free QuickBooks for years. There's going to be some more one-on-one advising. So basically, take a picture of both of these. If you have an iPhone, it'll let you do that. And it'll scan them. Otherwise, go ahead and scan and save. But we want you guys to have that. I'm going to thank you again. I'm going to leave this on the screen. I'm going to turn off the recording, and you guys are at welcome to ask Dan Tony anything you want before they put us out in 15 minutes. Thank you for your time.
This is what I would like to ask. Trucker. What have I said that you may possibly do moving forward?
Keep it up, right there.
Keep it up with your fund. That's very key.
Yeah.
And I want to say this. Right. Right, should be planning, should be planning. Before I was here, I was on a call with someone who was doing it bigger than me. And he told me talking about his journey story, and he told me about Dallas College and Goldman Sachs. That's how I got into the program. The program in art helped me to become banking, with the bank. I wasn't financially savvy before that. So that little small little piece that he told me, paid off wonders, and now I'm standing here talking to you.
You said become bankable.